What is up everyone, as always it's Lovenji here, and today we're going to be looking at Mission 11, Treacherous Souls. I don't care much for this mission. It's going to be another mission we do relatively quickly before going on to Mission 12, which is going to be an incredibly long mission, but that will be in the next video. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to it. So here we are in Mission 11, Treacherous Souls. We're going to be beginning this mission immediately with one of our patented wild men rushes. We're going to throw down a couple of huts so that our braves staying at home have something to do, and then we're going to convert like crazy and immediately attack the Masak tribe. This mission introduces two new spells. We've seen both of the spells before, but in fact we've seen both of them in Mission 6. This is the Swamp spell and the Hypnotize spell. Both spells are very irritating to deal with, even though the AI doesn't tend to use the Swamp spell very much. The Hypnotize spell causes all manner of chaos when trying to attack the enemy with units, which is why we will not be using units in this mission. Any mission that introduces a new spell, the AI has a preference for utilizing that spell against you in some way, shape or form. So, for the purposes of this mission, if you attack the Chumara, that's the yellow tribe, as they are the ones who own the Hypnotize spell, with an army, she hypnotizes like crazy, and it can be incredibly difficult to manage. Hypnotize is an incredibly cool concept for a spell, but it's one of my least favourite spells in the game. You can use it when you don't cast it directly on units to get through things like the magical shield, and if you actually hypnotize a hypnotized soldier, their allegiance switches permanently. So if I have a brave that gets hypnotized and I try to hypnotize that brave back, the brave's allegiance actually gets changed to the enemy army, and when my hypnotize times out, he will permanently revert to their army. So you can't even just counter hypnotize. So you can see we're gathering quite a large army. Once again, I'm using the key G to make the Braves patrol around the Shaman. And we're going to immediately launch an attack. And one of the interesting things is, when a large group of soldiers are attacking, you get special sound effects like these. That kind of echoey battle cry only exists for these specific groups. So when large groups of enemies are all having a fist fight, you'll hear this battle cry. My favourite mission later on, Middle Ground, actually very heavily features this, and I'll be looking forward to showing you that some more later on, because it involves the spell Armageddon, which is the greatest spell in the entire game. So there's nothing really new to explain here. You've seen me do this multiple times already, and I'm going to do this multiple more times before the game is through. We've gathered a group of wild men, and we are attacking a tribe before they have the chance to get established. Now, some of you may remember in the PlayStation versions that the tribes actually were more completely established in their versions, so you couldn't actually do this in the PlayStation versions. It forced you to play the missions slightly more. And I'm going to set my men to pray there, and we're immediately going to go into a sped up segment. One of the reasons we're going up into quite a substantial sped up segment is because we need to now build up our tribe. The yellow tribe are across the water from us, and we have no way of reaching them, so at the moment we are just gaining mana and building up our tribe. So I'm just trying to gather as many wild men as I possibly can, and I'm at this point essentially micromanaging. Whenever you're micromanaging a tribe, it's really easy. All you have to do is get as many huts as possible and one of each type of training hut. Unlike classics such as Command and Conquer, there's very few benefits to having multiple training huts. Even though you could have multiple training queues of the same unit, training costs mana and is very mana intensive, so you couldn't afford the mana to train multiple within the same queue, even if you wanted to. Praying at that stonehead is giving us additional casts of the swamp. The little red icon indicates a free spell cast. It will not recharge once it's used. And all I'm doing is making a land bridge and then using those free casts of swamp to create a barrier, essentially, that's going to stop the yellow tribe from attacking us. I'm making sure to spend them before I get the next one, because if your spell slots are full and you pray at a stonehead, you will not actually get the benefits of the spell. So all we're doing at this point is just building up. As you can see, I'm using the Enter key to use that top-down view, and I'm using that as a way of managing my tribe in a specific way. From the top-down view, you can see quite easily how many Braves are in each hut, and assign those Braves where it necessitates. Additionally, you can forget how to speak English while recording. So now I'm just using Land Bridge to find a place for my fire warriors. In the ideal world, you don't even need to place down these training huts because I don't use any units across the course of this mission. I use almost entirely spells and spell functions and features. And that's one of the reasons why I'm building so many huts. You could probably get away with less huts if you wanted to make an army out of it, but I actually prefer to do the complete opposite. For reasons I've said before, the AI behaves very differently when you're attacking her with an army versus when you're attacking her with just the shaman. And additionally, this spell in particular, I'm thinking about how the enemy shaman is going to be utilizing the Hypnotize spell. And I really don't want to be dealing with the fact that my men are going to be turning against me and each other, and I have no way of really dealing with that, especially because I don't have Magical Shield yet. I have already said that the Hypnotize spell goes through Magical Shield, but it doesn't really for the AI. Basically the way Magical Shield works, and it's a spell we'll get later on, is it reflects a spell. If you look, when we cast a spell, it sends out that little jet of white to the location. It reflects a spell where that jet comes in contact with the spell shield. So for things like Fireball, it must go to that location. For Thunder, it must go to that location. But what you can do is you can cast area of effect spells like that change status, like Swamp or Hypnotize, at the ground near the unit and let the area of effect actually encapsulate them, and it will affect them. If you cast the spell directly at them, it will still bounce off as all the others. If you look, when I'm casting, there's that little trail, that little grey, browny trail going to the location where I cast the spell. And it's that trail that the Magical Shield actually reflects. So you can do the same with the Swamp as well. If you're being attacked by an army wearing Magical Shield, you can throw a Swamp at the ground beneath them, and they'll still be affected by it. Here I get my Shaman killed, because I'm not paying attention. She dies very, very quickly in this mission because the enemy uses a lot of warriors. As you saw in that situation, I got attacked by a couple of warriors and just didn't react quick enough with a fireball because I was too busy trying to deal structure damage. So, the game does its best to try and keep Braves busy. If there's things that need building, Braves will automatically try to do it. And if a Brave spawns at a hut, and that hut has no one in it, or has an empty space, the Brave will try to enter it. Sometimes, when Braves complete a hut, or fully upgrade a hut, they will go inside it. Sometimes they do not. So, when I'm hitting enter and it looks like some of my huts are full and some of them aren't, and it doesn't look like I've been micromanaging this at all, I haven't, and it's really down to pot luck as to how many Braves are going to be in those huts when I check. And you can see some of them, the Braves have all gone in nice and happily. Some of them are still empty, and if they're empty they don't produce followers as quickly, and they also don't upgrade as quickly. So it's one of the reasons why I keep trying to actually check on my village and try to make sure that the Braves are behaving in a productive way, because if they're not, we run into this sort of problem. So I'm returning to continue my attack. I left a lot of the structures damaged. What I'm trying to do is remove wood stages from each building so that they're not producing new followers or training experienced followers. And I'm using the swamp to cover the important buildings to make it take much longer for them to repair. Unfortunately, I didn't get the swamp down on the preacher training hut, which meant they got it functioning again, as you see in the horizon there. And that's one of the most underappreciated features of this game that I really actually enjoy, is this kind of horizon effect. If you look, because this is a circular world, the world is actually spherical, and it pans around. You can see they've got this kind of cool-looking, slight cylindrical arch on the horizon, as if this is a circular. You know, we are playing on a sphere. I really like that. I think that's a really nice little commitment to the thematic that they're trying to tell. So I don't need to be doing this. This is me messing around. I'm just messing around with the boats, and as you saw, boats actually have a hidden amount of hit points, and you can damage them to the point that they randomly explode. I did mention it in one of the earlier videos, but yeah, it's just a fun little thing to do. The reason I am actually doing that is because each of those braves sit in the boat. Forgot that happens. As soon as you saw the boat blew up next to my shaman and sent her flying, you'd be amazed how many times I've been playing this game and have been knocked into the water by an exploding boat. Now the reason they're doing that is, say the Chumara, they have that little pond over there. Say the Chumara wanted to get a boat in there, they could, you know, knock it onto land and then knock it all the way across the land into that little bit of water, and they'd have a boat there. It offers no tactical value whatsoever, I'm just using it as an example. It's to prevent that, so if a boat goes a certain amount of time inland, it will explode, just to stop people abusing and moving boats to where there shouldn't be boats. Additionally, if a boat's left unoccupied in the water for too long, it will sink. And if a boat gets hit by enough fireballs, it will explode in a blaze of glory. So I could be utilising their Vault of Knowledge, but I don't really want to at this point. At this point, I think I've got the victory. Pretty confident I've got the victory, and so I'm just trying to end this as quickly as possible. It's actually going to backfire on me. We're going to go into another sped up segment in a moment because I messed it up in a pretty big way. So you find this interesting thing. Sometimes the game tries to play too many sound effects at once, and that leads to this sort of silent fighting that's going on with the shaman and this brave right now, because it's trying to play the music as well as their screaming and this fight, and casting that fireball there gets me killed. As I've said before, when you try to cast something or disengage from the combat, it actually restarts the combat, and because combat begins with a push, he just pushed me into the water. And that's really it. So I sort of just speed up the little revival bit and the little bit of maintenance that I did there while I was dead, and we're returning to the base now, and at this point we want to grab the... No, we don't. Just kidding. Sometimes I grab it, sometimes I don't, and it really depends on the amount of followers I think the enemy has left, and at this point I think, you know, she's got no real huts producing braves. You know, I've killed most of the braves through fistfights and other such shenanigans. I don't think her tribe is long for this world, and I just opt to end it instead of spending the extra time praying at the Vault of Knowledge. So, I'm really hesitant about casting that fireball, as you saw, because I didn't want to get pushed in that piece of water again. And they really almost do consider it as well, and that was really worrying for me. I'm trying to wait till I finish this fist fight so I don't get shoved, and then we're just going to cast Thunderbolt. I very specifically tried to make sure that the lightning spell, the cursor, was on a brave and not the actual hut. Doesn't matter too much, it just meant that I was going to kill more braves with that cast than I was... It would still damage the hut. But at this point, I'm very specifically trying to kill the followers off. Now, here we got the desperation mode, and this will conclude the mission, obviously. And all I'm doing is waiting for them to gather up. Lightning, so they all stack up. And that brings us to the end of this particular mission. It's a pretty simple mission. I find it quite annoying to do the intended way, but we'll see you in the next video. Okay, that was Mission 11, Treacherous Souls. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, let me know what you'd like to see done differently, and I'll see you in the next video.